paid marketing can really mean unlimited scalability.
We save them an average of $3,000 to $5,000 a month in bad clicks. There are tools that allow us to see what your competitors are doing and what keywords they're actually using.
97% of home buyers use the internet in their home search.
We offer click fraud protection with all of our campaigns, and the reason why we do that is because
All right, so I think we are right at 2 o'clock. I am Mary Anglade. This is Thomas Lee, and we'll get into more formal introductions in a minute. But first of all, I want to welcome you to PPC or Google Ads for home builders. I realize we also have some related businesses, which we've taken into account as well. And I just want to say, along with this welcome, is congratulations for taking some time out to build your business. I think there are a lot of people in this field that are not, really taking the time to learn digital marketing techniques. There's a lot that you can benefit from. So we just want to also congratulate you in addition to welcoming you. Setting the agenda, we should be here about an hour, maybe less. Most of our webinars have been running about 50 minutes. We will introduce ourselves more formally. We want to also just take a moment to talk about the home buying journey and why your business really needs to be found online. Then we're going to get into the meat of this, which are top 10 pay-per-click questions. We are going to start off with the basics. If you are more advanced, there will be plenty of information here for you as well. But we wanted to just start from the top. So, what is pay-per-click? Some basics around Google Ads, some terminology, why, paid marketing can really mean unlimited scalability. Of course, there's some caveats with that, which we'll get into. Strategies that are working the best today. Frankly, things have evolved over time. Tom is really going to get into that. Examples, we will share various anecdotes and examples of other builders. And as we'll explain, we've also worked with a number of other types of businesses. How to set up your campaigns, how to structure them, how to measure ROI, and how do you even see if this is working for you? A little bit of housekeeping. We are recording the webinar. We will send the recording in about 3 or 4 days. We will also have it up on our YouTube channel. Please email us with any questions. I'm giving you my direct email here. Really, anything that arises today, please just don't hesitate to reach out. We are holding a monthly webinar. We're going through the accelerated growth model, which I will get into in a few minutes. Please connect with us. I'll give you a way to do that very easily in a few minutes. We have a free YouTube channel where you can see some of our previous webinars. And we are also on Instagram, Facebook, and I'll give you a way to connect on LinkedIn as well. And please share. We love doing these webinars and really sharing our expertise. So we welcome all attendees. Our next webinar on that note is we will be doing a deep dive into Facebook marketing for builders, but again, related businesses. This will be in May. Please connect with us so you get the date. It'll likely be either the second or third Wednesday of the month. Who am I? Let's start with some introductions. I have over 25 years of experience in marketing. I have owned an agency since 2012, and the name of that is SparkGen. We have worked with dozens of businesses across industries, small and large corporations. We ended up, actually acquiring a few builder clients. And so we really developed quite a bit of an expertise in the home building and home services niche, if you will. We are associates members of the Modular Home Builders Association. We exhibited at the October show. I may have met you there. And we are also part of the Home Builders Association. Locally, I am in the professional women in building as well as the general association. So I may have met you last week or at one of the events. We love working with home builders. My team just really enjoys it. I think it's such an important part of anyone's life. And so it also lends itself really well to digital marketing. It's very visual and, we'll get into today, we're focusing on PPC, but it really is, a match that you should all be taking advantage of. Lastly, my early career was actually in finance. I was in banking in New York City. I used to lend money in the Garment Center. I was worked for a very large money center bank, and that's a tough business, the fashion business. So I approach marketing with a very results oriented approach. And I think our clients really appreciate that because everybody on the greater team approaches it in the same way. We want to get you results. We are very transparent. And, we understand how businesses make money, not just agencies, not even just home builders, but just in general. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Tom. Tom, please introduce yourself.
I'm Tom Lee, and as she said, Mary and I work together very closely. I've got a little over 25 years of marketing experience. Our firm has been in business for almost 25 years now and specializing in SEO, pay-per-click advertising, and multiple other services. We've worked with hundreds of clients all over the world. We've worked in many, many different industries. And we do have an expertise in modular homes, as we said, or the building industry. We've done some serious research and we've learned a lot of great things on how to attract people in for the right keywords and save you a lot of money by using different techniques that we're going to talk about during the actual seminar, and then we'll move a little further. But other than that, that's pretty much it. You can ask questions about anything with me, and I'd be more than happy to answer them. So,
Thank you, Tom. So just briefly, so builder lead marketing, we actually came up with this niche because we started working with so many home builders and we really wanted a brand that spoke to the industry. But it's a fairly new brand for us. It's only about 6 months old. We offer various digital marketing programs. Foundations is for smaller home builders. Usually, it almost always starts with the website, maybe just doing a refresh, maybe it's a rebuild, and then picking one way to drive traffic. As we'll get into, it's great to have a website, but if you don't do anything to drive traffic to it, it's really nothing more than a brochure, and it can be much, much more than that. We offer acceleration. That's a little bit, for those builders really wanting to grow, those businesses really wanting to grow. That would be SEO, pay-per-click, social media, email marketing. And then enterprise, we work with some really large companies and we offer even some custom programs. We still do some print and events, trade shows, signs, that kind of thing. We are a full service. We also offer, though, for some of our clients, they maybe have an in-house marketing team, or they may even have another agency, but that agency doesn't offer, SEO, pay-per-click, or social media. So we can certainly be an add-on if the fit is right. So we'd love to connect with you. If you use this QR code, or you can go to builderleadmarketing.com, but the QR code will bring you to a link tree. Please send me an invitation on LinkedIn. You can get this is a 40-page book about digital marketing. So it's completely free. We love sharing information and helping everybody in this industry. So this is just a way to connect as well as our social media channels. Okay, so before we get really into the meat of pay-per-click, just want to present, this is something called the accelerated growth model. This is a high-level view of kind of the series of webinars, and it's really a program. So last month we covered SEO. As I mentioned, you can watch that webinar on YouTube if you missed it. This month it's all about paid search. We will in the future do database, which is really email marketing. At the heart of it, you really have to have a strong website. We call it your 24/7 model home. So we will get into that in a few slides. But then also the right side, as I mentioned, we are very aware that, all of you are in business to make money. So you're looking for ROI. You're, very conscious of your budgets, and we are aware of that and we agree with that philosophy. So it wouldn't be a marketing discussion if we didn't spend a little bit of time talking about the target buyer. So who is your target prospect? This is going to vary depending on your business. Are you perhaps serving people that are looking for affordable homes? Or are you serving very well-to-do people who maybe it's a second home or they have a very different budget? You could have a great business with either of those targets or anywhere in between. But I think you really need to understand that the copy that you put on your website, the imagery, how you present yourself would be different. So just please keep that in mind. Again, I think it's really important to have an idea of who this person is. We like to even do a little exercise where you would think about what kind of car they drive, where do they go out to eat, where do they go on vacation, really try to get into that person's head. Home building, and again, I realize we have other types of businesses on this call, but I think you're all kind of in maybe similar situations where, you're not selling toothpaste, you're not selling cheap t-shirts. If you are a home builder, or you're a modular manufacturer, let's say, I don't think I need to tell you this, but I think it's easy to forget that, for most people, this is the biggest financial decision they will ever make. It is full of emotion, it is full of sentiment. So it's, complex. And this is just buying a home, even an existing home. Building a home is even that much more complex. Hiring an architect. I mean, these are things that, people are not doing every day. So you want to exude, trust, expertise, and authority. And we'll get into why it's so important online. Because how do your prospects find out about you? Chances are, I'm not even sure the yellow pages exist. If you're old enough, you might remember this big yellow book. I know where I live, they don't even distribute it anymore. Of course, there is a yellow pages online, but chances are, it might be one way people find you. Probably not. Even if you are looking in directories, there are hundreds of directories out there, and there have been huge changes. So in 1981, which I realize is a long time ago, but it's fun to think back that the most important rated information source after agents was newspaper ads for homes. And this was a home buying survey they did. Well, in 2020, and they do this survey every year, the National Association of Realtors, that annual survey found that 97% of home buyers use the internet in their home search. And they started their journey there. And this was true across age groups, even people well into their 60s, 70s, 80s are looking online. So it's no longer just, the kids are online, everybody is online. And I think this is really important. I know this seems like a big number, and especially if you are a builder or maybe you're in a related industry, you're out visiting clients, you're outside maybe a lot. Your career is very different. But if your target customer is a professional, say they're a lawyer or they're a business person, they are online. And, per Fortune magazine, this is kind of an interesting article, which you can even read the whole thing, but it's on average, Americans are online 7 hours a day, and professionals likely more. So you really need to remember that, even if that's not your personal reality, that is the reality of most Americans and probably, your target client. So we're just going to talk briefly about the customer journey. Don't worry, we are going to get into pay-per-click, but let's just think about today. How do people find out about you? So again, we love to use personas. This is Tom and Tammy Jones. They've outgrown their home. They live in the Northeast outside New York, and they want top schools in Westchester County, which is, a very nice county with very good schools in a lot of the towns. They're very busy. They're working, they're worried. Building might seem too complex, but Tammy sees real estate ads on Facebook. She sees a friend of hers built a house. She's talking to Tom and saying, well, the inventory is so low. Maybe we should think about, building a home. They're also meeting with a real estate agent. They're going to Google, which is, going to be the heart of our discussion today, building home in Westchester, New York. Okay. Who's coming up for that? Let's just think about how are they learning? How are they growing their awareness? Because eventually they are going to become somebody's client. So inbound marketing is a framework, and it really just kind of outlines how most people do research today. This is from HubSpot, which is a marketing software company, but they do a lot of research. And I think it just makes common sense. We can forget about homes for a moment. Let's think about, say, a car. Okay, if you're going to buy a car, chances are you're not going to just walk into the dealership. You're going to start doing some research online. Maybe you're going to read reviews. You're going to look up if there were, quality ratings. You're going to go to these various websites. You're going to look at models. You're going to look at mileage. Then eventually, you're going to visit a website. Maybe you will give your information. Maybe you'll make an appointment at a dealer. Potentially, after you've done maybe some more in-person research, you'll become a customer. You'll buy your car. If you're happy with your car, maybe you'll go out and give it a review, or you'll share how much you love your car on Facebook. So this is kind of the way people, whether it's buying a home, whether it's buying a car, whether it's deciding whether or not you're going to read a book, people are starting online, they're doing their research, and they're going through this funnel. So again, I just ask everybody to think about, how does your prospect find you online? Again, I realize we have a lot of builders, but we also have a few other related businesses. How can you consistently take that traffic, the website traffic, convert it to callers and leads? We did a webinar a couple of months ago. Again, you can find it on YouTube, about maximizing leads on your website. Again, making it more than just an online brochure. So you have a full schedule, profitable business, right? That's what it's all about. You have momentum like this sailboat, you're going to where you want to go. And you have success, right? You're growing your business, you're generating revenues and profits. And before we, again, we are about to get into the real meat of this, but I think it's always important when you're learning about something is you just think to yourself, what would it mean to have more leads, sales, and profits? If you can picture in your head that, you are actually using your website, you're getting traffic, people are finding you, they're filling out your form, through your sales process, you are able to convert them. What would it allow you to do if you were able to, say, have another 5, 10, 20 sales a year? What would that mean to you? Not just the numbers, but what would that do for your life, for your financial situation? So without further ado, let's get into the meat of it. I've been talking way too much. I'm going to start off asking Tom some questions, and we are going to again start off very basic. But Tom, what is pay-per-click?
Yep. So pay-per-click advertising, as it says here, it definitely appears in multiple formats. Most of the time you go into Google and you'll see different ads in different places online. You might even see image ads on a publication that you read. There's video ads on YouTube. There's a whole bunch of different forms of advertising when it comes to pay-per-click. PPC is, one of the most popular places to be is obviously going to be Google. They are the 800-pound gorilla. And we always, like it says here, when designing a pay-per-click ad campaign, we include, establishing campaign goals, performing keyword research, writing strong ad copy, and setting up a landing page. Most of the time, though, I do want to bring this, if your content is really well done on the website, that would be a great place to be, or, that would be a great landing page for you. So,
Yeah. Okay. And let's also share, yes. So I think PPC now, Tom, correct me if I'm wrong, but the way we use the terminology is we are usually talking about Google ads, even though it really is any kind of form of marketing like that where you're paying on a click basis. So like Facebook, you can set up your ads that way as well. But for today, when we talk about PPC, we're really referring to Google Ads.
Yeah, pay-per-click
And
advertising.
yeah, and one of the reasons is Google is as you mentioned, the 800-pound gorilla, and it is, it wouldn't be Google, right? So I also just wanted to share this example because I think sometimes when we talk to prospects or, you know, just we're talking about search, right? So search engine marketing, if you are putting in keywords, so this is new home builders, Connecticut, what you have to understand is the top is the sponsored, that's paid. So that's the pay per click. Okay. It is one means of driving traffic to your website. Down below the sponsored, those three areas, this is organic. So that is different. That is, we went through this last month. Again, we encourage you to watch that webinar. That's different. They're not paying for that placement. They have probably optimized their website. They are actually doing things probably every month to get that placement. But the top three, where it clearly said sponsored, is the Google ads. So I think it's important. I want to make sure everybody understands that because it's easy to be confused about that. Okay, so our second question is, how does PPC differ from other online traffic sources?
Well, you know how it pay-per-click advertising obviously is a paid service. So most people, when they create campaigns with us or we create their campaigns for them, they actually have an advertising budget. PPC is like immediate traffic into the website because we can create a campaign and we can move the ads up the charts for you almost instantly. Whereas with other types of marketing like SEO, those things, it takes time to build into those places. So pay-per-click, it's an immediate traffic for your website and it can produce leads very quickly. People are looking for certain things and that's where they're going. And
Yeah. Yeah, so, we also kind of like this analogy of it's more like a sprint because it is quick. Whereas SEO is more like the marathon, the long distance. By the way, we believe both of those have a place in your marketing budget. If, of course, you do have to have the budget, but they work together. So it's not an either or, it's a both. Okay, so again, we're just starting off real basic, but what are keywords?
you know, keywords or keyword phrases are obviously what everybody types in. I don't even know the number of queries, but I know it's in the billions per day. So whenever you're looking for something, obviously you might type in something like Chinese food near me, or you may type in something like modular home builder. Whether it is a generic phrase or a long-term keyword phrase, those are how people do search now. And really, there's a lot of information out there to help when we're building these types of campaigns and making sure that optimizing the websites for the relevant keywords help the search engines understand the content and display the site, for relevant searches. So it really does. Keywords are very important to the content on your website as well. You certainly want to make sure that anything that you're targeting is on your website in a content form that allows Google to see that. And there's a lot of benefits to that, which we won't get into today, but would really help. So keywords are basically anything that you search for online. That's
Yeah,
really it.
and okay, and it's a perfect segue into, what is keyword research. So now we're kind of moving away from just general terminology, but,
Yeah.
kind
So
of a little bit of, what goes into, now we're starting to think about, like, if you're going to set this up on your own, you're going to have to do keyword research. So if you could explain to everybody, what exactly that is, and then we have some screens that we can share to
yeah.
show you what that looks like.
Right. So keyword research means a lot of things. Like we say, with generic terms, a lot of times those may not be the beneficial terms for someone. So, keyword research, it is a process of identifying and analyzing the terms that are right for your company. So remember, just because you sell homes, the word real estate does not mean that the word real estate is the term that you should be going after. You need to
Yeah.
look what you're selling on the site and actually, so like we were talking about modular homes earlier a little bit, and we talked about that in the SEO webinar. Those are the terms that we focus on for, those are what we call low-hanging fruits too. So when we build this out, keyword research out, that's how we build your campaigns and your ad groups so that we can allow Google to put out the information that we need and attract people to, come in and possibly buy what you're selling or fill out a lead form.
Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna just before actually showing kind of like where you would go to do your own keyword research, you know, now would just be a good time for our viewers to just ask themselves, what questions are your prospects asking you? Because typically these are, what they're typing into Google. You could also just think like, what would you if you were interested in designing a new home, building a new home, you know, um, searching for somebody to clean your home or clean your commercial space, what would you put in there? You would likely put in the service plus like the area you are in. And you want to think about that. What are your top geographic areas? I also really recommend, and you can do this now or do this right after, but go take a look at your top competitors. It's always a good idea to see how others are presenting themselves. This is less to do with keyword research, but also just a thought exercise. Are you presenting yourself in the best way? Are you really thinking as broadly as you should be or as specific? And type in your main line of business, plus the area that you're targeting, the town, the county, and see who comes up for that sponsored, section of the search results.
I have one last thing I wanted to talk about before you jump off of that. And
Oh, sure.
what we were talking about earlier, there are tools that allow us to see what your competitors are doing and what keywords they're actually using. So I want you to be aware, we can see larger companies and what some of their biggest keywords are. So that's a little bit of help. It's only part of the research, but it is something that we actually do whenever we're working on a campaign.
Right, right. So
However,
that is probably a little more advanced because of the investment, that you've made in the types of tools, but absolutely. So keyword research. So first of all, I just want to mention too, everybody should have Google Analytics on their website. I do have a link in a future slide, but also keyword planner, right? This is something that everybody can access, not just if you're an agency, Google, it's free, right?
correct. There is a tool for people to use it's not part of AdWords itself, but it's more of a tool that people can use like trends and those types of things so that people can find what people are searching for and how hot those keywords are or those keyword phrases are at the time. So, um,
Okay. And this link, if you all want to just take this, take a picture of it with your phone. Again, we will be sending this out in a few days, but you can go on and actually set up your own account. Tom, I'm going to let you tackle this, but
okay.
this is one screen that you'll see. And, again, these are the tools that you can use to start doing your own research.
Right.
If you could share what we're looking at.
Right. So not to be too broad, like the word home builder, because it's going to spit back a lot more information. If we're working with a company that specializes in modular homes, we typed in, as you can see, modular home builder. And then the average monthly searches in the US are, 10K to 100,000 on average for search. Now, what happens is when you add that keyword in there, it also spits back a ton of ideas of other terms that people are typing in. And you can see modular home builders near me, manufactured home builders, mobile home builders, although we would never use that term because most people don't want to be associated. A modular home company is not going to be associated with a mobile home company. So and that we can create negative keyword lists for. And we won't get into that right now, but it really this is this tool allows us to get in there and see what people are actually looking for. And then to take it a step further, you're looking at the US, we actually break down your areas and then we run the tool with the keywords so we know exactly what's going on in your areas because A lot of people don't recognize this, but they may say, hey, why is the cost of this in this area, or why is it here? Well, in the amount of people in the whole state of Nebraska is probably, a little over 1 million people. And if you're in New York City, the population is 14.5 million. So you're going to get different variations of different things for different keywords in those areas. And the nice thing is we can actually geo-target when we're doing the keyword research to see what the hottest keywords are for the places that we're going to focus on, the areas we're going to focus on.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so again, we realize we might have an assortment of businesses on here, but we're going to talk about home builders, and I do think this content is going to still, be applicable. If you're in a different sector, just think about what are the broad terms. So, Tom, I'm going to let you, because we kind of touched on this earlier, but
Yeah.
why is the word real estate not a good keyword for a home builder? And
Well,
and again, like we're talking about, maybe that would be okay if you had a multi-million dollar budget, but for our average small to mid-size home building company or modular manufacturer, why wouldn't that be the right word?
yeah. So we mostly work with small to medium businesses. We work with publicly traded companies too, but one of the things you have to realize is general terms are general terms. Like if you were looking for the word, like if you were looking for grape soda, and I know that's a really weird, but you're not going to type in the word soda because it's going to produce a bunch of things. You're going to type in where can I buy grape soda at? Same thing, real estate. It's just too broad. Even if you're in the real estate market, I'm telling you now, people are going to search for things like homes you know, in Manhattan, those types of terms. You'd never want to use broad terms that are too broad. And what, as you've seen in the last slide, if you notice, it spits back a lot of long tail phrases. Those are your low hanging fruit. So you see, it says here, use specific keyword types related to your business and long tail phrases. So as we worked further and further in with these companies, we had a lot of terms that showed up that were actually about the styles of the home, and like a duplex or a colonial modular home. That really breaks it down. Those leads are going to be the most valuable leads for you because the person is actually looking for something very, very specific. And as long as you're there in the ads for it and it's part of it, you will show up. And regardless of what the top keywords are, we have all kinds of bells and whistles to actually utilize these other keywords within your ad too. So, but
Yeah.
it's
So
just,
you want to qualify because real estate too could be talking about like
mhm.
Sotheby's real estate, or I might be looking for a realtor. I might not be looking to build a home at all, or maybe I'm an investor and I'm, but you're right. I probably wouldn't just type in real estate. I'd type in real estate investment or something like real estate investment Northeast or something like that. That would
So when
qualify it.
Yeah, when we meet with anybody, I mean, we always have an onboard meeting, and one of the most important things is finding out what the targets are going to be. And most of the time, the content on site is going to show us those things. But we always want to hear from the potential client, what they're looking for, because sometimes the keywords they're looking for are not as valuable as they think. So thinking outside of the box, that's when we jump in and start looking at in the right areas. So
Okay.
you don't want broad terms. You want to really focus on the low hanging fruits, and you'll save a little money that way, and you
Yeah.
more qualified leads. So
So here's a specific example that we have of a client where, we took over pay-per-click from another agency and, they really didn't know what they were doing, frankly, but they had such broad terms that, an entire $3,500 budget was gone in what, like 3 days, Tom?
yeah, and the money was wasted on things that had nothing to do with the actual company, and that was the sad thing, but that
Yeah,
happens a lot because people are not paying attention. I mean, that's why you have to really consider when you're building a campaign that you're doing it professionally, so that you are getting exactly what you need into your what
right.
the people you need into your website, and you do that through the keywords and the strategies. So
Yeah, yeah, it's easy to waste money, which is
real
a
estate
good
tax Real
It's a
estate
good
was actually
segue
one
to
of the
this
broad.
one. Yeah. Yeah. So the point of all that is you want to be specific, and especially if you are budget conscious. So, if you could just kind of give people, who are thinking about structuring and trying maybe do a test on their own, what are some key things to think about, and then what are some mistakes to avoid?
Well, yeah, like conversion track, like you say, conversion tracking is a must. Like whenever we work with anybody, we have to, and really when you set up the conversion tracking, it tracks everything, your SEO, and everything's broken down by a channel. So you want to know if we're, and actually we want to know too, how many phone calls are you getting? How many forms are being filled out? And we can actually break those down they no longer call it conversion in Google Analytics, it's called events. So
Yeah, and we have a screenshot of that in a few slides. So,
yeah, so really conversion tracking is critical for any campaign we work on. It really helps us know, it helps us see what's going on because remember, it's like a doctor. We're always in practice, we're always making tweaks and changes and testing and doing those types of things. And like it says here, your campaign must be broken down into smaller ad groups targeting the various services that you provide. So some companies that we work with, we will only have one ad group depending on what the goals are, including the budget. So we have to look at both of those things to see what are best. But obviously, if you have specific services that are not exactly the same, we will build multiple ad groups in, and those could feed off of one budget, or we can build multiple campaigns so they can have their own budget as well. And like, make sure you have a strong understanding of the keyword match types. There are multiple types of matches. There's exact match. There's phrase match, which is another form that sends keywords that are similar to what you're adding in. Google will make sure they spend their budget for you. So we watch these things. And the goal is with what we do is we go into something what they call broad match. Broad match means no, we just unleash. There's no areas that, there's no exact match, there's no brackets around the keywords or anything, and we let it go. But that is based off of what we see coming in from Google first and how they're relating it because we build different types of negative keyword lists and many things. But you want to know what the match types are that are going to be most important for you. And then and the reason we move these match types around is because we want to try and deliver more people to you, more qualified people to you at lower cost because it's all based on keyword cost.
yeah,
And then when it comes to text ads, you write compelling, as it says, you write compelling text ads that resonate with the customer type and entice them to click on you versus the competition. Very important that when we build ads that we're using text that is on the page. So we have different ad groups for different channels. So if we're sending somebody based off of a term like we were talking about earlier, modular duplex homes, we want to send those people into that page. And writing compelling text is you get up to 15 headlines in the ads. So it allows us to put a lot of information in there. And there's an ad quality score, which is like an optimization score. And as long as we fold in 100 normally, 100% on all our ads, except sometimes they're a little bit less based off the fact that we have to kind of hang Google a little bit off to the right hand side for other reasons. So the most important thing is having a well compelling text on the site, having it in your ads, and that will allow for more clicks into your website for lower costs. Um,
great.
now oh, I didn't
Oh,
interrupt.
sorry. Did you want to?
Well, I was just going to talk about ad extensions because I did
Oh,
bring up
yes. Okay. Yep.
ads, and we just said if you're looking for modular homes and you have all these different models, I can actually add all of the different models through site link extensions. And I know a lot of people see those when you actually have a ad out, there'll be multiple links underneath that send you to different parts of the website. So, ad extensions are a real great way to help stand out and also bring a lot of interest into the website because you're offering the end user more.
So one other question that I think is important for this group, it's, a sub question, if you will, but like if you have somebody who builds homes, but they also do remodeling, you wouldn't want to use the same ad for both, right?
No, no, no,
Because you
no.
have people searching for remodeling, you have people searching for building a home.
Those will be
So.
completely separate campaigns. You would not
They would
want
be separate. Okay.
those would be completely separate. So, and like it says, we do ongoing testing, tweaking, and fine tuning, and that's just part of everything that goes into an ad campaign.
Yeah. Yeah. You can't, generally speaking, you can't think if you're setting this up that, oh, it's just going to work the first time. You've got to really look at what's going on. You have to analyze it. You have to tweak it. You have to test new ideas to keep it fresh. You have to look at the competition. So yeah, it's not a set it and forget it at all, which is a good segue into what are, common mistakes. And actually we covered the second bullet, but go ahead.
Well, yeah, failure to understand the Google Ads, auction process and how they do things. And I'm going to read these down. Set up, only one ad group for all services, home building, additions, renovations. We just talked about that is basically we can do it in separate ad groups, but for something like home builders and then additions and renovations, we're probably going to want to break those apart. And you're going to have different sections on your website for that. And that is where those ads are going to be placed when people, so people can click on them. Don't use specific text ads and landing pages for groups of keywords. Yes, that's pretty much like when we're building text ads, that's the most popular. And when we do build them, we are looking at a lot of specifics when it comes to the text on that landing page. We don't want, and we want to make sure that we're focused with all of the different extensions that actually only have something to do with that page itself. So we don't want to try and bring one portion of the brand into the other portion of the brand. And then, no strong call to action or offer on the landing pages. We do that. You don't want to, you want to make sure that your headlines are compelling. And remember, because you have 15 headlines and you notice there's always one or two that you see, Google's AI has learned how that specific person searches, and they actually show that ad to that person. They kind of match the person now with AI to what you're focused on to put your ad in front of that person. So it's really, really interesting and a lot of new things. I don't want to get too far into that because we can go down a whole rabbit hole with that, but that's really important. And then the last thing, which is one of the most important things, is negative keywords. We are big about negative keyword
So
lists.
what are negative keywords? Can you explain
So,
what they are?
yep, well, we just seen it when we did the keyword research. We just had modular home builders, and you've seen something that said mobile homes. So the first thing we do is we have a list that we've already created. We already have a list that was started for the whole entire what, no matter how many campaigns you have, and the word mobile will be in there because the word home and homes, we will also put mobile home in there, mobile home, so that people will not be able to get in for those terms. Or sometimes people will say stick homes for horses or something like that. And we want to make sure that none of that stuff falls in. And
Yeah. So
always
you have
switch.
to kind of think about like
Mhm.
who you are as a business, because
Correct.
and then also geographically, right?
That
Like
is
let's
correct.
say, because we have a lot of businesses on this call that they serve a certain geographic area. So you
So,
don't want to come up and waste your money because that's what's going to happen if you come up for somebody in Hawaii and they click on it, then you've just wasted your money, right? Is that the case?
right. So we're geo targeting an area, but if someone in that area is searching, so if I'm selling, like, say, modular homes in New York, I might be in New York in the area that you're advertising in. But if someone types in modular home South Carolina and the modular home term is picked up, it'll show your ad. And that person was not looking for New York, they were looking for South Carolina. So what I do, and this is with all clients, is we go through and we take every state and every state abbreviation that has nothing to do with your campaign. We add it to the negative keyword list so the people searching in that area will not be hit. And if you know, as we work with more clients, we have different ones. The only state abbreviation we cannot change that we cannot add is Maine for ME because people type in home builders near me. So it creates a conflicting negative keyword list, a conflict in the negative keyword list. So we keep that out. We leave that one alone. That's the only one that we put in, but that is something that we do with anyone who is geo-targeting certain areas. That's exactly how we focus for those. But there's a lot of
Yeah.
terms that are going to come up, and your competitors, Another thing, a lot of people say, oh no, we should come up for our competitor. No, I disagree with that because when someone's looking for looking for their competitor, they're looking for them maybe for their billing department. They could be looking for them for another reason.
Right.
And most of the time, when your budget is going to get ate up by Google, you want to focus on the most robust tech
Yeah.
you can come
You
up.
want to have efficiency. You don't want to be wasting your money on
with.
things that are not really going to result in anything for you. Because,
And if you come up for your competitors, it's going to cost you way more per click because now you're basically utilizing their keywords, even though it's not in your keyword list, but they had something to do with modular homes in the area. So
yeah.
they're going to throw them up too. And we don't want people to come up for those. So we focus heavily on the negative keywords. So
Okay. Yeah. No, I think that's such an important point. Okay. So we're going to just spend a second talking about, so we get this a lot, like what is the right pay-per-click budget? So first of all, just you have to think about your overall marketing budget. We will get to specifically pay-per-click. This is from the Small Business Administration. Basically your competition is always out there. And if you're not actively seeking business, well, you have to know that they are. So, they recommend 5% to just kind of keep your market share, 10% to really grow. So this is of revenue. So B2C companies need to spend more than B2B. That's kind of in general. So I think, again, we like to bring this back to you. Like, how much do you want to grow? Why do you want to grow? And what would growth allow you to do? Right. So again, selling more homes, reaching more builders who sell more homes, designing more interiors, whatever your business is. And then I think the other question to ask is, what happens if you don't grow? Does your competition, get your business? Are you okay with that? Are you okay with the status quo? So this is going to be a different answer for every person, but I think, it's like you got to get at your why, why are you even here? As we assume you want to grow, right? We established that in the beginning. So, okay, so if you kind of just thought about that, let's just talk about what is a realistic pay-per-click budget. By the way, we know Google gives out, sometimes you'll get a little thing that says, oh, here's a $150 credit. But you know what? What do you think? I mean, we have some numbers here. If you could share your experience. I think you might have muted.
I muted myself while you were talking.
Oh,
Sorry.
yeah, sorry. Okay.
So
So
one
start
of
over.
Yeah. So one of the most important things, like the minimum recommended budget, we would say to start is somewhere around $1,000, and we're only basing this off of what we see in the home building end of things. Because if you're actually building luxury homes, those terms can be a lot more expensive. So your budget is going to be based on, obviously what you can afford, but also it's going to determine how many clicks you get. So I work with a lot of companies, and one of the things that always come up is Google says you can produce this many more conversions if you spend this much more money. Because what happens is a lot of people want to try and squeeze the budget down, but here's the problem. If your budget say was $500 and there's X amount of people who are doing ads in that area, I'll see something that'll tell me, well, we're only getting clicks, we're only being seen by about 16% of the impression share. The other 74% or whatever it is, we're missing those because you don't have the right budgets in place. So it's really important to know that a lot of people think it's not like something where we can go, oh, we can build you a campaign and you're going to save tons of money. We'll just start with this much money. You want to have the right amount uh,
Yeah.
in
If you're
place.
going to do it, because if not, you're really just wasting your money.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
you might get some traffic, but you're
Right.
really not, it's
And
not going to
then
be super effective.
so with the test stuff with the credit that Google offers, If you have one of those, if you've ever had a PPC campaign based off of your website, you cannot use it. Even if you never used one, if you've already done pay-per-click with someone else, you can't use that. But you can't use that.
Okay, so it's really just if you're brand new.
But not only you have to spend X amount of dollars and go X amount of time before they even give you the 150. It's not, for the most part, it's just, it's like it's a draw and to try and
It's
make you
like a coupon. It's basically a
right.
coupon. Gets you
Um,
into the supermarket, but it's
yeah.
really not going to feed you.
So, so like most home builder clients range 1,000 a month. For smaller builders,
Yeah,
1,000. Yes. The reason is I mean, we've seen how hot the market is for home builders right now. Housing is short throughout the United States, and we see a lot of people looking for so we want to make sure that, you have the right, range for yourself. Um,
right.
we,
And we usually, and not to get too off topic, but sometimes some of our builders also YouTube is a good place and that's owned by Google. So we'll tack on a YouTube campaign, that actually can be extremely effective. Okay, so I'm cognizant of the time. We have two more questions. These are going to go pretty quick. But there's bad clicks out there, right? So Tom, how do you prevent them? There's certain programs out there. Like
Mhm.
who are these people? Like how do you define a bad click?
Yeah. So what happens is there are all kinds of bots you've seen. They come through and they're going for they're looking for keywords. So they're just running through the SERP, which is a search engine ranking page, and all of the paid ads are on there too. So those people will go through, and if say it was modular home builder, and they had that keyword in there, they're gonna rip through those ads, and you're gonna pay for the click, and Google doesn't care. You're not gonna get your money back for that. So one of the things that we've employed is we offer click fraud protection with all of our campaigns. And the reason why we do that is because we have been able to save people thousands and thousands of dollars in bad clicks. Because here's what happens. There are people in Nigeria, right? And they use VPNs, so they look like they're in Hartford, Connecticut, but they're really not. They're in another place, and they're using those tactics to get in and grab information. They're scraping for emails, those types of things. Well, what happens is with a click fraud protection program, they identify it instantly. Then that program sends it to Google and it blocks that IP address. So now what happens is even so here's the thing. Even if you do blocks in different areas of the world, it still doesn't prevent it because they have things that make them look like they're over here.
They make them look like they're local.
Right. So I have a company right now. They're a publicly traded company, and they're in the loan business, a specific type, and we save them sometimes three because of their budget. We save them an average of $3,000 to $5,000 a month in bad clicks, which is
Wow.
actually their budget.
That's
So
huge.
yeah,
Yeah. 60,
and
60, 36 to 60,000.
yeah. So
Yeah,
every
so you want to be aware of this. There are other programs out there. We have, as Tom mentioned, all of our campaigns have this built in. You could look into something called like ClickGuard. There's some other ones. It is a real thing though, and it can end up wasting your money. So you want to be careful with that. Okay, so we're
and I was
finishing up. This is our last question. Again, we are very results oriented. We know you want to know you're getting, a return on your investment. And the great thing about digital marketing is that everything is measurable in real time. You can literally go in any time of day. And if you have Google Analytics, and again, I understand everybody's at maybe different levels of advancement in their marketing, but Google Analytics is free. You just sign up. As we mentioned, pay-per-click is immediate. You will see traffic. I'm going to show an example. Tom referenced this earlier in the reports. All you need to do is go to google.com/analytics. It'll tell you, it'll send out some instructions. Any agency or, decent developer should be able to get this onto your website. So whatever level of marketing you're at, if you have a website, this is something you should be doing. This
otherwise.
is actually a screenshot from one of our clients. They are a pretty large home builder, and they're getting about 26 to 30,000 website visits. You can see through Google Analytics where this traffic is coming from. And paid search, it had about 1,941 visits. And then, events, they're calling them events, but those, Tom, are clicks. They're forms filled out. So somebody's giving their name, their information, or if you have click to call, right, you have that set up.
Everybody has it. Yep. 40.
So
Yeah.
these are leads. These are
Right.
leads.
So the events start at one point so everybody understands. And a lot of people have form downloads, that can be an event and all of those things. But then there's that next level where the thank you page goes to that person, letting them know that that information is in. And as you can see with the paid search here, there was 1,941 sessions, and that produced 47 valid leads for that.
Yeah. And that's, this is, obviously I cut out all the
Yes.
information on the company, but
Mhm.
it's in a month. So, and you can see there's other sources of traffic. So
And that
this
was
is
just
all, they all work together. We don't necessarily recommend one or the other. Depending on your budget, I mean, you can certainly just start with one, but this company is doing paid social media. They're doing a lot of social media. They're doing SEO every month. We're optimizing their website. So they're getting, a lot of great traffic, and they had close to 600 leads in the month. I also just want to share too, because Google, that is the source report, but what we do is we like to actually look, and we share this with our clients every month. We have a monthly meeting and we go over, there's this is just a sample report. Because we, wanted to just show you kind of an example, but usually there's seasonality in most businesses. So, things may fall off a bit in December around the holidays, but we like to look at that and we usually compare it to the prior year. Maybe if we can go back 3 or 4 years, we certainly will. And we know everybody really wants leads, that we're builder lead marketing. That's what people want. So we report the leads. You can figure out if you spent, X thousand dollars or X $100, you got this many leads, then you have a cost per lead. You can figure out, with your conversion rate, what is that resulting in for your sales? What is a lead worth to you? I think is a really, something you should really all think about. And again, it's all measurable. This could be one of our clients. Again, these are just kind of made up charts just to kind of give you a picture. So that was the last of our, top 10 pay-per-click questions. We do want to just say we are here to help. I started off saying how much we really enjoy this whole sector. We love being part of the associations. We love meeting everyone, and we're happy to help. We do offer a free website and online marketing review. If this is something you're interested in, we'll take a look at your website. We will look at your visibility. Are you being found? As Tom mentioned, his team can take a look at the competition. How are they performing? Usually they can see if, they're doing pay-per-click, they're doing what they're doing,
and the
if they're
rest.
doing, right, if they're doing it well or not. We'll take a look at your social media, and we'll take a look at your website, and is it converting? Are there things you could be doing? We'll leave you with that. Here is the contact information. Feel free to reach out, or you can scan the QR code. So usually we just send out quick questionnaire, so you just have to fill that out and you'll book, and 30 minutes to an hour with us. After you've done that, we have a chance to take a look at your presence. And again, there is no charge for this. If you decide you might want to work with us, that's great. But again, we're just happy to help the industry, and we love meeting everybody. And we really just love helping people. That's why we get into this business, is we have great satisfaction when our clients are succeeding. And even if you don't become a client, that's totally fine. I want to just thank everyone for coming, and again, congratulate you for taking time out to grow your business. I also want to thank the Modular Home Builders Association, as well as the HBRA of Fairfield County, for getting the word out about this webinar. Please, we will be doing one every month on a different topic. And again, please follow us on social media. you know, we also offer marketing tips. And if you visit our website, we also offer a lot of good information, blogging, that kind of thing. And again, very happy to meet with you directly. So I think we're going to sign off. Very nice again to have everyone with us today. Have a great rest of your day.